The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime Wednesday night. We are here at Karma wrapping up what was this past Sunday's WWE Summerslam on pay-per-view. We're going to talk all about the card with our very special guest, Shane Helms, in just a moment. The Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime Wednesday starts right here, right now. To jump to the Pro Wrestling Report, Primetime Wednesday night. Damian Nelson, we're on location, and I am joined by one very important person and another hack. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us, that important person here as we talk about WWE SummerSlam is the man who watched it with us here in Milwaukee, Shane Helms. Shane, welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report.
Oh, thanks for having me. I had a great time tonight. I thought SummerSlam was awesome. I don't know what you guys think, but
really, you thought it was awesome?
Yeah, I thought it was great, man. I didn't think there were any. Keep it over here.
Sorry,
I'm gonna tell you how this works. Keep it over here. No bad matches. You know, once you eliminate the bad, all that's left is positive. No bad matches. Everybody worked hard. The crowd was into like almost every match, and even the last match when the crowd was silent, they weren't silent because they weren't interested. They were silent because they were watching.
Yeah.
So that was, even you saw it here with this crowd, everybody was just, they were silent, but they were glued to the set. And it was a different show, but I liked it all.
Praise from Shane Helms, and I'm sure there will not be praise from the cynic himself, David Hero. David Hero, this SummerSlam, the 25th anniversary of SummerSlam, overall, what did you think of the show?
I thought it was a good show. It was solid. Of course, Del Rio didn't leave with gold, which was rather depressing. But like Shane said, every match had a big event feel to it. It was SummerSlam. It was one of the top 3 pay-per-views of the year. And every match, every guy delivered. From the opening match to the main event, the crowd was into it.
And let's talk about it match by match. And let's start with the biggest matchup on the card, which was not for a championship, but it was for, I guess you could say, bragging rights. It was a fight between Triple H and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar dominating Triple H in that matchup in what was actually more of a wrestling contest than that we saw between Brock Lesnar and John Cena earlier in the year. But the surprising thing in this matchup is Triple H tapped out to Brock Lesnar. Shane, your thoughts?
I think that if that's his swan song, then job well done. But if I know Triple H, and I do, I think we're going to see him again.
And you're the only one at this table that actually knows Triple H. It seemed like he was saying goodbye tonight. I mean, he apologized to the fans. He's patting kids on the back. He spent so much time getting out of the ring. It seems like it could have been his last match, or at least they want us to believe that.
Well, SummerSlam isn't WrestleMania. You know, WrestleMania, a lot of the matches, there's a finality to it, and that's kind of the end. I actually like pay-per-views like this a little bit better. One chapter ends, another chapter begins. This isn't the end. You know, it's more to. There's going to be more to this. You got to understand, wrestling it's the action movie that never ends. You know, most action movies you get 2 hours, and that's all you're ever going to see, unless there's a sequel, which very few are. But wrestling never ends. This is going to go forward. I think we're going to see Triple H again.
David Hero, was it Triple H's last match?
If it's not his last match, he did a great job of making everybody forget that he tapped out by taking that long walk to the back. But it seems like it. I mean, if you think about it, who is left for Triple H? His last few matches have been The Undertaker, Kevin Nash, CM Punk, and now Brock Lesnar. All big-time matches. I don't think there's anyone else on the roster that Triple H would be interested in working with right now.
Well, WrestleMania is indeed coming to New York, and if Triple H is back in the ring, you got to imagine it's going to happen at that point. But that is an unanswered question as SummerSlam went off the air tonight. Was it Triple H's last match? But again, Triple H went in there and did what a lot of people assumed would not happen, and that is lose cleanly to Brock Lesnar. Does this repair any damage that may have been done to Brock Lesnar in his matchup with John Cena and the subsequent dealings with John Laurinaitis afterwards, Shane?
I didn't think any damage was done anyway. You know, if MMA and the UFC has taught us anything, is that anybody could lose at the drop of a dime. Everybody's got a sweet point on their chin. Anybody could be knocked out. Anybody could be submitted, and that's reality. And although, pro wrestling, we like to take things to a very fantastic place, the reality is that any of us can be done that quick. Yeah. So I don't think there's any harm to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar can walk into a crowd of 1,000 people and be the baddest dude in there at any point in time.
You know what I've said many a time? One thing I'm not afraid to say is Brock Lesnar legitimately scares me. Yeah. He looks like a man who could kill a man in the morning, have lunch, kill another man right after, and then enjoy a fine, exquisite dinner. He's an amazing specimen, and he was delivered as that specimen tonight at SummerSlam, David Hero.
It was a great match. It was a fight. It was almost like it was more MMA style of a wrestling match where both guys were a lot of ground and pound. And, yeah, there was fighting outside. And you saw how the referee, was able to keep the match going. He wanted to ring the bell. He didn't do it. The interesting thing for me was they showed an Achilles heel of Brock Lesnar by the shots to the stomach. Yeah. It showed that he's human. So interesting how going forward, if future matches if the guys will still work that same spot on Brock Lesnar.
There were a lot of matches on this card, and the opening contest was one that definitely delivered on athleticism and physicality in the ring and a great wrestling matchup. That was Dolph Ziggler versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho wins the match. Dolph Ziggler tags out. A great matchup, and many people expected to see Dolph Ziggler later on cashing in that Money in the Bank, but that would not be the case in the World Heavyweight Championship matchup. David Hero, you were high on this match going into it. Your thoughts on this contest?
Well, I really thought that Ziggler was going to leave, the victor in this match because there's been lots of talks about Jericho leaving after this to go tour with his band. Jericho looked fantastic tonight. I mean, he did a great job. The Walls of Jericho looked fantastic. You know what? I thought for sure Ziggler was going to come back, cash it in, beat Sheamus. It was nice that they didn't do that this time, where the guy who has the Money in the Bank loses to only come back and cash in and leave the champion. It's nice that they change the script once in a while.
Shane, you know both men. This was a great wrestling contest between Ziggler and Jericho, and I'm not sure anyone's surprised by that. But Chris Jericho wins, and the whole story going into this was that Chris Jericho could not win that big match. Tonight, he did.
Well, that was a storyline I didn't like anyway. You can't say some guy who was the undisputed champion of the world can't win the big match. I mean, that's like saying the Yankees can't win the World Series. They've done that. They've proven that. So I wasn't really on board with that storyline anyway. Jericho is going to deliver. Dolph Ziggler is the best seller, the best bumper in the business right now. He's just kind of in a league of his own when it comes to creativity and how he takes moves, how he sells moves, how he makes the littlest things look more than they are. He's on fire right now. So even this loss, a loss to Chris Jericho isn't bad. When you lose to one of the best in the world, one of the best of all time. Yeah. That doesn't make you look bad. I don't care if he loses to Chris Jericho 10 times in a row. That's not going to look bad. He's got an amazing future ahead of him. Chris Jericho is, like I said, one of the best, not just now, not just a good little guy, not just a good transition guy. He's one of the best of all time, period. So Jericho will be back. Whether he goes and tours with Fozzy again, their record just came out, and their record is good. And when you got a good record, you got to go and make money. He's not going to turn that money down. The tour is going to be awesome. I think he'll be back. Dolph Ziggler is going to continue to rise.
An amazing endorsement for Dolph Ziggler you just gave, saying he's one of the best ever. He hasn't been in the business.
He said Jericho's the best ever.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard you wrong.
That Jameson, you got to cut back, bro.
I was talking to Shane here. I wasn't talking to you, all right? Let's just.
In terms of his selling is so unique. He brings stuff to a new level. If he continues at this level, he'll go down as one of the best ever, without a doubt. Right now, he's got a couple things he needs to get done, but he's on fire. Every match he's in is spectacular. Like he says, he's the show off. One day it's going to pay off for Dolph.
Very nice. Well put. Well put. Daniel Bryan versus Kane. We talk about some great people in the wrestling business right now. I think a lot of people should be surprised at how over Daniel Bryan is. As we talked about David Hero, Daniel Bryan, a man who came from Ring of Honor Wrestling, who was a wrestler, if you will, and not enough people appreciating the talents he had to entertain. Those talents prevalent tonight in the matchup against Kane, where he defeated Kane, and afterwards Kane showed the world that he wasn't too happy, and Josh Matthews was the big victim backstage.
Who would have ever thought that Kane and Daniel Bryan Danielson would ever have a pay-per-view match together? two complete opposites. And who would think if that match was going to happen that Daniel Bryan would beat Kane, the Big Red Machine? And all Daniel Bryan has done since he's been back on TV has win and get over with the crowd. It's no longer yes, yes, yes. It's now no, no, no. And the guy just keeps going forward and forward. It's only a matter of time before he's back in that title picture again.
The Miz defeated Rey Mysterio, retaining the Intercontinental Championship. A lot of people surprised by this. And probably a lot of people more surprised in the fact that Rey Mysterio was likening himself to Batman tonight with his ring gear. Speaking of which, Shane, that's a nice tattoo you have there. I know you're a big fan of the Green Lantern, and you just welcomed a new son into the world. Congratulations on that. But we've got a little gift for you here on the behalf of the Pro Wrestling Report. Yeah, we like to reward our guests for coming on, and I'd like to give you a little onesie, if you will, for your new little boy.
Spectacular.
Some pajama jammy jams, if you will, to wear. A little Green Lantern action. Well, that would be a whole different video.
This is like my moolah. That's spectacular.
No problem at all. The Miz. A lot of people have had a lot to say about The Miz, and let's go to somebody who's been in the business and who's wrestled with the best for your opinion on not only this matchup, but The Miz's, I guess, reincarnation as of late.
Calling The Miz one of the best, are you?
Did I say that? Did I say The Miz was one of the best? See, he puts words in my mouth and then tried.
Said that I worked with some of the best.
I'd said that, yeah.
Okay. Well, then he never.
The reincarnation of if you will, of The Miz, coming back with a little more edgier look and now winning against Rey Mysterio, obviously one of the fan favorites tonight.
I didn't like that finish. Great match. Heels going over clean equals no heat. Yeah. If you go out there and you say, I'm going to beat this guy, and then you go out there and you do that and you do it convincingly and clean, that's cool. That doesn't make me boo you. Mm-hmm. So that makes me think also that they might have future plans for Miz. I think Miz's biggest challenge is coming off as a tough guy. Yeah. And maybe because I know him and know he's kind of a goofball, and that's the same problem I have. People that know me know I'm a goofball, so sometimes it's hard for me to come off as a tough guy. So that's my biggest disconnect with The Miz. And it was very strange that we had a couple heels go over cleanly, and then with Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio, the babyface kind of cheated. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so the heels go over clean and the babyfaces cheat. So that's, I don't know if I understand that quite. But they got big plans for Miz, and that's what you got to accept. He is a star. I know he's stuck in that he was just a reality show guy, but the fact of the matter is that Miz was in wrestling before that. Mm-hmm. And he just did that, and that has helped him. I think they need to really kind of define who he is, though. Yeah. I don't buy him as a tough guy. Miz should be Tully Blanchard to me. Miz should be the cheater. Miz should be Buddy Roberts of the Freebird. Yeah. But he's trying to be Terry Gordy. Mm-hmm. He's not Terry Gordy.
No Bam Bam there.
He's not Bam Bam. With Rey Mysterio, he could get away with a little bit more than he could with anybody else, but he's not Gordy. He thinks he's Gordy when he's really Buddy Roberts. And that's where they need to that's how they need to define The Miz.
Very well put. And the match you talked about as well was the next contest. It was for the World Heavyweight Championship. Sheamus defending against Alberto Del Rio. This one ended in shenanigans, David Hero. Shenanigans in the fact that at the end of the matchup, when Sheamus got the pinfall victory over Alberto Del Rio, clearly Del Rio's feet were on the ropes. This one's not over.
Not by a long shot. Del Rio is going to petition with Booker T. He will get the rematch probably this Friday on SmackDown and lay that feud, over with, because they can't keep going Sheamus, Del Rio, Sheamus when you got Randy Orton waiting to get back into that title picture. Like I said before, that's the money match, Sheamus and Randy Orton. But Alberto Del Rio, he gets over. He does what he's supposed to do. Like him or hate him, he's a money guy on that SmackDown brand, and all he does is compete. He looks good, plays the part. Ricardo Rodriguez, he's a big part of that equation also. And it's just a matter of time before gold is back around his waist. It's just not going to be Sheamus' title.
A big part of the matchup tonight was indeed Ricardo Rodriguez. And Shane, we saw the use of the shoe again, likening back to the days of J.J. Dillon. However, it did not prove successful for Del Rio tonight. Your thoughts on Del Rio and Sheamus and this match, which I think over-delivered on the expectations that people had for it tonight?
it over-delivered in the end. You know, I was live tweeting all tonight, and I thought during the beginning of the match and even toward the middle, it didn't have a world championship feel to me. Its placement on the card didn't help it, but also the feud in itself didn't help it. But toward the end, hard work paid off and psychology paid off. Neither of these guys are out there doing moonsaults. Nobody's doing, shooting stars, but the hard work and psychology paid off, and they got that crowd at the end. And that meant a lot. Like Dave said, this is going to continue, and it might go a little bit, it might go further. I can see Del Rio being champion again. I can see Sheamus keeping the title. So when you don't know who's going to win, that's when it's the best.
Sheamus retains the World Heavyweight Championship. 2 more matches to talk about before we get to the tag team and WWE title matchup. Shane, obviously everyone knows who follows you on Twitter. As you talked about, you were live tweeting during SummerSlam at ShaneHelms.com. You recently, you're recovering from an injury. Your foot pretty severely injured in an accident a couple of months back. How's your recovery going?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I just did a match last night, and everything's going good. I'm trying to push myself with every match, so I don't want to put myself in positions where I'm not comfortable right now, so I'm regulating myself to tag teams, and I just did a five-man tag, which went 50 minutes. So I definitely...
Was that at the Greensboro Coliseum?
It was in North Carolina, and at about the 30-minute mark, I'm going, I'm ready to get out of here, but I'm pushing myself, so I'm doing really well.
Excellent. And the Highway to Helms show is available online as well. Tell everybody a little bit about that and how they can find it.
That was just a product of Jeff Katz. Jeff Katz is a Hollywood producer. He produced Wolverine, Jason vs. Freddy. He's done a lot of big projects. He tried to talk me into it. I tried to talk myself out of it. And we just did 1 million downloads on iTunes. And now we're open to Android markets and other markets as well. So just me being me and spitting the gospel of Gregory and just having fun with it, as a matter of fact. I mean, you guys got a big milestone. Y'all just knocked out too. 10 million on YouTube. Yeah, that's huge. So congratulations, you guys, as well. It was nothing I planned on. I didn't foresee this. My claim to fame, especially in the social media and internet, is I was the first guy on everything, whether it was MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, apps. WWE just came out with the app. Yep. Mine was out almost 2 years ago, so I was the first guy on everything. But this I really didn't foresee. It fell into it, and as luck would happen, it turned out pretty nice. So I don't know.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on all that. The next matchup, as we talk about SummerSlam, is featuring the tag teams in WWE, a resurgence of the tag teams in WWE. Contrary to what you believe, David Hero, we had a tag team championship matchup on SummerSlam. It was the PrimeTime players without AW going up against Kofi and R-Truth, and surprisingly, Kofi and Truth retained the titles in this matchup. A lot of people, including me, firmly behind the PrimeTime players as of late, and it seems like they're almost more prominent without Abraham Washington.
I was shocked that they didn't leave with the gold or the bronze pennies, whatever you want to call them, the big
Trojan man.
I thought for sure with the loss of AW, they're going to reward them with some gold, bronze, whatever. Didn't happen. It was actually a pretty solid match. I mean, if you got to figure, Kofi and R-Truth haven't been teaming for quite a while. A lot of singles matches lately. There was a good flow to it. It wasn't fantastic, but as far as the tag team division goes, that's what we're stuck with. Hopefully it'll just keep getting better from here.
Before we get to the WWE Championship matchup, because that one had an interesting finish as well, we've got a big John Cena supporter here in the house tonight. And they are frequent, but few and far between on this program anyway. So, Linda Kay, come join us here and give us your fluffy opinion on John Cena. John Cena in that contest tonight against Punk and The Big Show. Didn't seem like he had a chance, but you were rooting. They shushed you tonight because you got so loud and belligerent over John Cena.
Oh.
John Cena did not win, though. What'd you think?
You know what? It was quite a solid match overall. I was really surprised about AJ coming out. No idea that was going to happen. And, it was interesting to see Punk and Cena both get Big Show to tap out. So I was thinking, hey, you know what? I was thinking Big Show.
Why'd you put your leg up a minute ago?
No, but I was sad that Cena did not win. But you know what? Punk retained, and he's a great champion, too. And we'll see what happens next between Punk.
Linda, you talk about skipping, and it's always a party as we're here at Karma, and one person did not like AJ being involved with that finish as well, and that's Frank Cosentino, the Cos. Come on over, the Cos, because he said when AJ came out, it's like all she does is, well, I'll let you say it, Cos.
All she does is just hop around. I want a GM that just gets right in there and has a better storyline. So I'm not a fan of hers. So.
When did you become a cynic like that guy?
Oh, you learn from the best.
No, you don't learn anything from him. Thank you, Kaz. Thank you, Linda, for joining us. And gentlemen, the WWE Championship was on the line. CM Punk defending against two men, The Big Show and John Cena. This one was a decent matchup that ended very uniquely because it was The Big Show tapping out while John Cena had The Big Show in the STFU, whatever it's called now. The match ends but gets restarted by AJ, and ultimately we see CM Punk retain the WWE Championship. A bit confusing at the end, a bit overdone, if you will, at the end, but the end result was solid.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was overdone. I thought it was actually very creative. I never seen a tap out quite happen like that. Punk actually had his in first, and so I mean, if you had to make a judgment call based on logic, we might have went with Punk. But I like the ref going, I don't know what to do in this situation, because you had two guys that had the Big Show, and I thought they really protected Big Show. You know, when you got a guy that's just a monster. Despite having probably the worst entrance music of all time for a monster, you got Big Show and you got Doink the Clown. Their music is very comparable as far as just taking me out of the aspect of what of a monster he is. But I thought they protected him really well. I really thought Punk was going to win. Dave actually put a seed of doubt in my head talking about Big Show, and I'll give him credit. Cena is actually Cena doesn't need a championship. Right. Cena is Cena regardless. Punk still needs it. Show could have used it, so I was kind of leaning toward either one of those guys. But I think Punk being the champion is the right choice. You know, he's still got some time to serve before he's at that level where Cena is, where he doesn't need the title. He's still got a little bit of time to serve, but Punk delivers every time. I thought all three guys did great. Big Show actually pulling out the eye of the hurricane. Don't think we didn't notice.
Did you get residuals on that?
I seemed like I should. We had a guy dressed up like a superhero. We had a guy doing the eye of the hurricane. Come on now. But I thought it was great. I thought all three guys delivered, man, and it was good. The crowd loved it. David, you were obviously, as Shane said, behind the Big Show. You actually had predicted Big Show. That sounds scary. You're right. Still need to ask you about that, by the way. Shenanigans. I have no idea where. Oh, you picked the Big Show in that matchup to win. You went left field, if you will. And while he may have won at one point tonight, he would not be the man leaving with the WWE Championship.
Tell me that all of you didn't think when they restarted the match, the double choke slam came along and Big Show went for the cover, that he wasn't going to leave as the champion. It would have made perfect sense, because that way everybody won in that match. The two, Punk and Cena get the big tap out. Then Big Show gets a double choke slam. He gets the win. Everybody wins. Reset next month. Do the whole thing all over again. For those of you that doubted how good Big Show was, he had a pretty good match with those two guys.
And three-ways are never...
And three-ways with a giant is usually a disaster.
And I'll tell you what, a lot of people don't realize, unless you're in the ring with somebody, where Big Show's talent lies, where Mark Henry's talent lies, is that they don't kill somebody. With that size and that amount of strength, Big Show can bump into you and knock you across the ring. The fact that those guys don't just kill people every time, that's how talented they really are. And that's something that the casual fan will never understand unless you're in the ring with them. So, neither one of those guys get as much credit as they deserve.
Very well put from a man who, of course, has spent much time in the ring with giants. SummerSlam tonight, overall, I think it delivered. It had the Big Show feel to it, and it's interesting to note that both championship matchups, the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship match, ended in controversy. The door's still open for the story going into Night of Champions next month on pay-per-view. Speaking of championships, on the pre-show, actually, there was a new United States champion crowned. Antonio Cesaro defeated Santino Marella. Guess they're trying to make the YouTube pre-show a little bit more significant, and that would be the only title change that would happen tonight on the pay-per-view. Was this pay-per-view missing anything from top to bottom, David Hero?
Well, for you, it missed Cody Rhodes. I mean, he was nowhere to be found. There was no Brodus Clay. But, I mean, overall, I thought it was solid. Every match was, I was entertained by every match.
Shane, is there anything that was seemingly missing from this pay-per-view show?
If the Divas hadn't came out and danced during that concert, I wouldn't have even noticed that they weren't on there.
Until that moment, I had blocked out the fact that horrible concert. I would have rather have seen several things, including any performance from the 1987 Slammy Awards, instead of the 29-year-old Kevin Rudolph tonight. Horrible. Look, I saw Kevin Rudolph live in concert by happenstance a couple of months ago. Horrible. I think it was tracked tonight. Still horrible. And then the Divas coming out and showing Michael Cole dancing, everybody else dancing. Come on, it was a waste of time. It really was.
Like I said, I wouldn't even have noticed the Divas weren't there until they came out, and it's actually kind of bad because they didn't dance nowhere near as good as I know some of them can.
Eve was getting down. She was backing it up.
Eve is the diva to me. You know, she's my one. The diva. You know, I call her diva. Oh, without a doubt. I can't, I told him, I said, I will never boo her. I don't care if she comes out with a butcher knife and just stabs everybody in the ring. I'm cheering for Eve. I'm not going to boo her ever. You know, but the Divas kind of got to step up. You know, they've had a couple matches recently, which I wasn't a big fan of. You got to step up with the limited, especially if you only got a limited amount of TV time. Yeah. You better make the most of that TV time and do your best. So I didn't really miss them. I thought SummerSlam delivered on all cylinders, and like I said earlier as we started, it leaves doors open. It doesn't end here. It makes me excited about what comes next, and I'd rather have that than the finality of all storylines being over.
Right.
I'd rather at the end of a comic book, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah.
I like that better than season finales, and now I got to wait 6 months to see what happens on Sons of Anarchy. I want to see what happens next week, and it made me excited. I liked it. 2 thumbs up from Helms.
Well, I guess we'll leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. WWE Summerslam. Let's go over the full results, actually, before we leave it at that. As we said on the pre-show, Antonio Cesaro defeating Santino Marella to become the new United States champion. There's rumors he may be changing that belt over to the European Championship again, which would be tremendous. He said that at least in some SummerSlam hype. Dolph Ziggler loses to Chris Jericho, does not cash in Money in the Bank. Daniel Bryan defeats Kane. The Miz retains the Intercontinental Championship over Rey Mysterio. Sheamus retains the World Heavyweight Championship in controversial fashion over Alberto Del Rio, and the tag team titles stay around the waist of Kofi Kingston and R-Truth. CM Punk retains the WWE Championship again in controversial fashion, winning over Cena and the Big Show, and Brock Lesnar defeats Triple H when Triple H taps out in what we were at least led to believe at the end of the night might have been Triple H's last match. SummerSlam, the 25th anniversary, delivered tonight. Shane, it was a pleasure to be able to watch the show with you. And as you said earlier, you can follow Shane on Twitter. I think there could be a stretching issue when you put it on. At ShaneHelms.com, and follow all the insight from Shane Helms. What?
Do you realize you just did a show with 2 superheroes?
I did a show with 1 superhero and 1 Mighty Mouse. Was Mighty Mouse a superhero in your opinion?
Let me ask you a question. If Mighty Mouse walked on 2 legs and Mickey Mouse walked on 2 legs, what duck walked on 2 legs?
Donald?
All ducks walk on 2 legs. Bam!
Does that quack like a duck?
You're sitting there with your mic in your hand.
This has been Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Wednesday night. Thank you, Shane, for joining us. And we'll see you again Saturday night with a brand new edition of Primetime Saturday night on My 24 Milwaukee. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.